Mr. Vice President, during your stay in Paris, you have met General de Gaulle. I would like you to tell us how you understand the relationships between France and Indonesia.
Well, up till now, the relationship between France and Indonesia is going very smooth, and there is no conflicting point of views, neither in the political nor in the economic field. Of course, both countries are trying to give more substance now in their economic cooperation and also in the cultural exchange. With regard to economic cooperation, there are already many France enterprises working there on public works like harbor works, aerodrome works, and hydroelectric works. And we hope, of course, that this can be more substantiated later on in general economic terms and trades.
I would like you now, sir, to ask you what do you expect from the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development, which is being held in Geneva, and I would like you to tell me to what extent your interest in the result of this conference are those of the African countries, for instance.
Well, in general, of course, the expectation of these developing countries that I think the prices for raw materials will be more stabilized, and certainly that the gap between manufactured goods and raw materials will not increase as it is now. Now I think, there is a great gap between manufactured goods, which is more or less monopolized by the West, and the raw materials produced by the countries of Asia and Africa. And in order to compensate this, then aid is given from so many countries. So I think instead of aid, if through trade, I think better prices will be given or stable prices will be given to these raw producing countries, it would be better. Then I think there is no problem of being aligned or non-aligned or strings or no strings, but then I think that there is more or less a fair opportunity for those countries to develop themselves through their own efforts.
About the situation in Southeast Asia now, sir, did you talk with General de Gaulle about it, and what do you think of the French proposal about the neutrality in Vietnam?
Well, in general, of course, these problems of Asia, as well, I think, in African countries, are more or less dominated by the problems of growing nationhoods, not only facing problems in the domestic field, but also facing problems towards their neighbors and also towards the ex-colonial countries, or in general, these countries, their relation with the West. In their relation with their neighbors, I think nobody should be surprised that so now and then difficulties will arise. Difficulties because of frontiers, difficulties of misunderstanding, difficulties of different conception. I think it is usual, I think, in the growth of nationhood. It happens in America, it happens in Europe, and you cannot avoid also this happening in Africa or Asia. But this problem could be solved in a good way if, of course, there is no intervention from outside, or if these problems are not attached to the Cold War problem, to the ideological problem. As you know now, between Cambodia and Vietnam, there is difference of opinion, but sometimes exploit and project it into the Cold War problem. So it is no more a problem between these countries, but a problem between the big powers. It is for this reason that we give very careful consideration and very careful thought to the proposal of General de Gaulle for this position of neutralizing the whole Vietnam. This, of course, will not be the ultimate status of these countries, but as a transitional period, I think it is best. Because we, in Asia, we do not want to make things too explosive, and that Asia is more or less becoming the battlefield between power politics or between ideological conflicts. But left to Asian themselves, I think I'm very optimistic that they themselves, I think, see reason to have a peaceful settlement. That is also in our case between Indonesia and Malaysia.
Could you tell me more about the development of this situation, sir?
Well, in fact, between us, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines, we have already a basic agreement, what we call the Manila Agreement. The Manila Agreement provided two things. One is the procedure to establish Malaysia according to the United Resolution of Decolonization, Resolution 1541. And second, it is a close association between these three countries, what we call Maphilindo. Indonesia felt themselves humiliated, also the Philippines humiliated, that an agreement signed by the three head of states there is just annulled by the British. Mind you, Indonesia has no territorial claims. Indonesia is also not against Malaysia in substance. What Indonesia wants, that this Malaysia should be established according to the Manila Agreement. What we want there is, I think, a fair chance for the people to express themselves in a very democratic way.